All right, well, welcome everyone to this session on reducing anxiety, fear, and worry, brought to you by TTA and our dear friend Oksana over at Sattva Me. Just a little bit on Oksana before we get into this. Oksana is the founder of Sattva Me, a mental well-being training organization focused on stress management, mindfulness, and wellness for employees, business leaders, and entrepreneurs. No stranger to life's curveballs, Oksana's personal journey spans a challenging childhood in the USSR and solo immigration to the US, where her pursuit of the American dream resulted in massive burnout and depression. Ultimately, a transformational experience in the Indian Himalayas led her to found Sattva Me. Now, both small entrepreneurial organizations and leading edge businesses like Microsoft, BuzzFeed, and MIT have engaged Oksana to help business professionals reimagine the workplace as an energetic source of well-being. So we're very excited to bring Oksana to you today to go over some of her practical play-by-plays, if you will, towards managing your own stress, fear, and worry. A couple of housekeeping items. As you know, this session is being recorded, so it will be emailed to you next week. So keep an eye out for that email. And if you don't see it, check your spam folder because you know how that goes. And then the last thing is that we do have a survey. I'm going to put it in the chat shortly. So at the end of the session, we would greatly appreciate 3 minutes of your time just to answer this survey and give us some feedback on the session as a whole. So with that, Oksana, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it off to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I wanted to ask everyone's permission if it's okay that we still keep the full hour, because I've prepared engaging exercises and other things. If you need to sign out, so please stay if you can, stay the full hour. If you need to sign out, please, by all means, you can finish with the recording, and I'll be sharing my contact information at the end as well. So as I said, let's start with an exercise, because I wanted to give some tools already for inducing the radical aliveness. If you are eating, please do not do that. If by any chance you are in the office and the environment is not conducive, because we'll be working with our arms as well, then just do the breathing and you can still get a feeling of it. Otherwise, if you can stand up, if you want to do it seated, that's also fine. So I want to show you the exercise. We're going to do it for 2 minutes only. We'll extend the hands. This is inhale, and then forcefully exhale. This is exhale, and it's important that you put the fists here. So, and we'll do it for only 2 minutes. If you have any medical reasons for not doing it, please follow your body. Otherwise, it's an experience, an experiment. I will start the clock here. Give me just one moment. So I'm not cheating you into it. So let's go. I'm going to do it with you. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And you're kind of hitting the rib cage. This is coffee replacement breath. You will see what it's going to do to your nervous system once we are at least 1 minute into the road. Those of you that are feeling sleepy and hungry, this is the best time to do it. So inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Try to match my pace. For those of you that are starting to feel your arms, we have 30 seconds in. We have 90 seconds to go. We're inducing stress. We're raising the heartbeat. You should start feeling the heat, and you definitely start feeling the whole warmth and your shoulders. We have 60 seconds to go. Stay with me if you can. If you absolutely have to stop, please do. Just to give you comfort, with the traditions where it's come from, they do it for 60 minutes or so. So allow yourself some smiles. 45 seconds to go. There is an end to this. We're inducing stress for a reason. I want you to experience the radical aliveness that I promised in the description. Just 30 seconds. You can do it. I'm doing it with you. My shoulder is also speaking to me. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. You've been sitting so long, so it's good to start your lunch break with some exercise. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale and hold your hands up. Don't drop them like a hot potatoes. Don't. Inhale and hold. Stretch up like you want to touch the ceiling or the sky, whatever you're in. And then slowly melt the hands down. Let all that settle in. Now I want you to either close your eyes or lower your gaze away from the computers and just experience what's happening within your body. Feel that raising heartbeat. Feel the sensation in your hands and arms. Feel any tingling, anything that is happening, and breathe. Stabilize your heartbeat. This is the feelings of radical aliveness, pumping the blood and the lymphatic system through the body that we live for. Our nervous system is wired to look for it. And the reason why we're enjoying the stress, fear, and anxiety so much is because of this. We want to feel alive. So if you've stabilized your breath, allow yourself to open the eyes, shake out your hands just to give it a little love. So how are you guys feeling? Alive? Radical? In pain? You might feel those shoulders tomorrow. But this is to bring the point across. So with your permission, I'll share the slides. So we have some concept already going on and have some place. So I would like to encourage you using the chat. We actually will use that a lot. So you are seeing my slides right now. You should be able to. Yes, thumbs up. I see some of you. Seeing the screen? Okay, awesome. So I would like to start by introducing you to my mother. She's 68 years old, and the majority of her life, she lives in worry, stress, fear, and anxiety. In 2019, I took her to India to work on my own issues around it, and this is where the picture was taken. She became the greatest teacher for me because by the age of 30, I had this subtle level of anxiety that I took as a baseline, and I didn't even know that it was there until I started to experience some bouts of peace and gratitude. And all the tools that I'll be sharing with you today, first I applied them to myself, and they also helped already hundreds of professionals, just like you, who wanted to have better emotional regulation and who still wanted to keep the exuberance of life, because we started to use stress or these emotions of worry, anxiety, and fear as the fuel for our productivity, efficiency, awakeness. And I set on a mission to try to reverse that flow and give professionals just like you the tools to do different, to get the energy from other resources. So I would like to get a little bit of a self-assessment. This is more of you just putting the check marks. Are you experiencing any of this? If you, well, let me move my little thing because I'm not seeing, hold on a second. So problems sleeping, difficulty falling or staying asleep, restlessness, feeling tired. Not if you're having a baby, that's an excuse. Anxiety from growing lists of to-dos and email box, increased or rely on use of coffee, alcohol, sugar, tobacco, other substances. I am having, oi, okay, kick me out. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness, we're having all sorts of beautiful issues today. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Let me stop sharing for just a second. Apparently it closed off the presentation. So I'm gonna start sharing again. So we've done this, anxiety. We've done rely on use on coffee, feeling restless, wound up, irritable, going through bouts of depression, overeating, undereating, or eating digestive or using digestive pills, any physical pain within the body, headaches, stomach aches, biting nail rushes, and also having this existential question of what's the point of all of this?
Excuse me, Oksana, I'm so sorry to interrupt. We're not seeing your screen. It still says It just has the black screen with the text saying that you are sharing. Again.
All right. Let me see if I can restart. So, can you see the screen now? Because I see participants can now see your application.
Yes, we see it now.
Okay. Let me make the slideshow again. So I announced all the things here. So if you're having any pains, problem sleeping, relying on caffeine, so how are you doing with all of that? Because these are all physical manifestations of the fact that you're relying on worry, stress, and anxiety a little too much. In fact, 44% of business professionals, now this is the new Gallup study after 2020, after the COVID pandemic, 44% report high levels of stress. The majority, it's for US and Canada, and the majority are women. And this is the all-time high from our pandemic times, which was the all-time high before. So if you can imagine, almost 50% of people are still having these difficulties. So let's unpack a little bit what are emotions and why they're so important in the business world, because it's a little bit still of a taboo, and I congratulate you for coming in here and learning about this subject. Emotions are electrochemical reactions within the body. Electro is because there are some brain activity that is happening, our thinking process and neurons firing and wiring. The chemical because it's corresponding to the hormones. The majority of hormones for worry, fear, and anxiety are cortisol and the other things that makes us excited, that makes us alert. And that's why we actually like them so much, because they create focus. They create our possibility to be extra vigilant inside the environment. So I want to ask you actually, why, or what is the purpose of emotion if we are suffering from them as well, behind the just anxiety and fear? What do you think, why the nature gave us these emotions to be wrapped up into? Before I go into more of the neuroscience about it, can you give me a guess? I'm going to look at the chat. Survival, to protect us. Survival, perfect. Yes, you are absolutely right. And what is the function, I guess, to us? Like, what is to appreciate happiness? I love your positivity, Andrea. So I guess to form the question correctly, the emotions are responsible for our memory. Survival is the outcome of that, because if we would forget where the danger was, then we would step into the same problem over and over again. Emotions are the tools that gear us to remember where was the pleasure and where was the pain. The challenge is that our whole nervous system, this whole body of ours, is more wired to avoid the pain. It's not wired to go towards pleasure. And that's why our, let's label them for today, negative emotions, which I will go by fear, anxiety, and worry, they serve as this huge tool for us to stay vigilant at all times and remember. Marketers already figured that a long time ago, and they use that as steering up emotion within people in order to attract them to their products. Also, good employers or good teams, they know that if they bond emotionally, then they will have higher loyalty, more engagement, less turnover. And we'll talk about group dynamics a little bit later. But I wanted to say that when you are in fear, worry, and stress, you are not in your thinking brain. You are not using your prefrontal cortex, the most evolved part. This is not the best CEO function of your capacities. You are actually in this red area, the survival. So most of you said survival here. This red stem, the survival, that's what active, and also the limbic system, our emotional brain. And they will override any logic, any knowledge, any reason that you might have without it. Think about an intense anger that you've experienced, or think about injustice, or any time when you felt that fear and worry. Were you actually making the best decisions of your life? And I bet that it's not, because you're in the wrong region. So the exercises that we are gearing today, that I'll share shortly with you, are to turn on the prefrontal cortex. And there are different things that we'll be looking at. How are you doing so far? Good, good. Resonates? Okay. So what happens on our work day is, when we are constantly not regulating our moods correctly, we are staying in this flight. And business world started to use stress or fear or worry or anxiety as a fuel for the grind. We have this, like, I pushed through this, I had the challenges, but I went for it. And this mentality of I can, especially, I would say especially in the United States, is a really strong culture mentality. And where it leads us towards is actually that freeze, because what comes up must comes down. The fear, anger, anxiety, concern, these are high elevated states, and body cannot sustain that for a prolonged period of time. Body, neither the brain. And so we have to go to the freeze mode, where we collapse, we're immobile, we shut down. Where we want to be, though, is narrowing down to go into this I am zone, where we monitor how we are, we emotionally regulate, we stay in the uplifting states as much as we can, we down-regulate the nervous system when we are going into worry, fear, and anxiety, or we help the time to process them correctly so they're not traumatizing to us. And as a result, we're staying in this beautiful optimal productivity without the burnout, without the consequences. So I would like to go through our first exercise right now and identify what are your emotions and feelings when you are in this heightened state, when you are in the freeze zone, because awareness or mindfulness is the first element to change. And if you are so busy, constantly on the go, constantly doing, constantly in the meetings, you're not aware of the time where you're going into these states. So I'll exit for here for just a minute so I can type. Would you tell me how the fight means for you, feels for you? What are you experiencing when you are fighting for that project, fighting for that client, fighting for anything that you want in life? I have the chat open, so I have volition here. Oops. Volition, stressed, energized. Yes, it's actually a very big energy booster. Ready. Nervous. So for those of you that are saying focused, energized, resolute, how do you know that you're not burning yourself out? Because all of these things, especially excited, focused, it seems very positive until you go into the freeze. It feels positive. Then I would like to see how engagement feels like for you. Let's switch to freeze. Whenever you are, I can't anymore, like I am done. I cannot move or think or do anything anymore. How does that feels within your body or within your brain? I have here pathetic, cranky, done, exhausted. And I know I'm going a little slow because I'm trying to multitask here, tired, purposeless. I like this one a lot because we do lose that juice of life, unfocused, disengaged. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I would like to actually see when you are in engagement, when you are rested, but not needing to push yourself, when you're not grinding through things, where you feel that you are balanced, when you're feeling that you are in harmony, in equanimity, but you're still very productive, but you're relaxed, productive. How does that feel for you? Do you guys work from that state at all? Content. Good. I saw ADHD, I'm not sure how to interpret it. Delighted. even keeled. Oops. Happy, in the zone. Say in the flow. Bored. That's an excellent point, because when a lot of people, we're so into the idea of excitement, we're so ready to be in the constant stimulation, that when we go into engagement zone, it does actually feels boring for a lot of people. And that's where they feel their anxiety the most, because you're going from this really high speed and you're slowing down and it doesn't feel right. And that's why so many people avoid it. That's why we actually prefer to stay in worry, anxiety, and fear, even though we come here to reduce it. If I reduce it to the point that you're going to be so chill, you actually might feel bored and you might not like that feeling because it's so unfamiliar. So thank you. Thank you for participating. So I would like you to kind of take a note for that. And we got already some of the insights here. I'll do the slideshow again so we can see it all together. So again, awareness. Where are you at on this spectrum? We did kind of a group exercise, but think about yourself. How are you responding when you are in these things? We all experience the same spectrum of emotion, but what triggers us as individuals is actually different. So what bothers one does not bother the other. And I would like to look at it as the fact that about 95% of everything that we do, we operate on a habit. Whatever fear, anxiety, worry that you are experiencing, it's because it happened in the past. But what triggered it is different. So I would like to do the other exercise right now. I will read to you some words, just the words. And I want you to immediately check in with yourself. And actually, if you can lower your gaze or keep away from the computers, that would be giving some rest for your eyes. If it's a pleasant experience, I would like you, actually, I wanted you to use the chat. If it's a pleasant experience, put plus in the chat. If it's unpleasant that you experience from that word, put minus. So I would like us to see how to, with the same words, we have some reactions. So whenever I say a word, if it feels pleasant connotation, you put plus. If it's unpleasant, you put minus. So let's do it quickly. We have mountains, pleasant or unpleasant. The majority are pleasant. Roller coasters, I see some unpleasant. The majority pleasant. Here are more minuses already. Roller coasters are not as congruent. Plus and plus plus. Spiders. I see a lot of minuses, some pluses, so it shows that dentist. Again, mixed feelings. First kiss. More pluses here, so it's more pleasant experience. Meetings. Plus minus, plus minus. So we are spending in meetings so much time, and I want you to see this, that we have this whole, depending on who you're meeting with, right? Emails. What is arising in your body? Don't think about it. Again, plus and minuses. Money is the last one. Money. How are you guys feeling about money? Amazing. Well, you have very positive attitude towards money. But I wanted to know that the meetings and the emails, and I put them in after some prompt exercises, right? That even though we spend so much time in there, our body and our brains are a little bit overtired from them. And therefore, that's the time where we can apply some of the exercise the most. So one of the first things that I wanted to suggest for you to do is to take the time to cognize whichever patterns you already have. Because as I said, and I'll repeat this, 95 to 98% of all your feelings, emotions, and reactions are simply habits. There's not much new that is happening in our system, even though, especially by this age, even though it might feel like new projects, new people, new meetings, new clients, your reactions and responses are the same. So unless you start cognizing these patterns, then it's really hard to change. And in order to do that, you need to take mental breaks, whether in writing, whether it's mindfulness exercises, metacognition of any form, meditation, if you are into those practices, but taking regular breaks to assess how are you doing and how are you feeling. Another way to do this, if you are taking those breaks and you are cognizing what is the feeling that I'm in right now, how long do you think it takes us to switch the feeling or emotion? Could you type in for me? How long does it take for us to change the feeling or emotion? So we have 10 minutes, immediately, 15, immediate, never, 2 minutes, I guess, depends on emotion, 10, 15 minutes, 2 minutes. So it is immediate. It's literally seconds. And when I discovered this science, it was interesting because that was not always true for me. There were some emotions that I could switch within seconds, and there were some that were just lingering for much longer, and sometimes days and weeks and even years. Oh, 10 minutes, I meant seconds. Okay. So it depends on the intensity of the memory, and it depends on the intensity of the event that happened. And that was one of the discovery. The one way that you can do is, if there's something that is not very gooey and stucky, you can replace it with positive emotions. You can literally tell your brain and body to switch. However, it might not be as simple. That's why we have other techniques. And another point here is that if you have hard time getting yourself into the positivity, into more balanced harmony, equanimity, surrounding yourself with the people that possess the skills that you want, surround yourself with, I guess, more tigers here and less Eeyores, will help a lot. And we'll cover in just a minute why. So as I said, anxiety is a habit, but so is happiness. If you practice over and over, overriding these emotions that you do not want, whatever these are, it doesn't even have to be negative. If you don't want to experience that emotion, you need to scratch it like a record, and you need to retrain your body to experience other things, but it has to have on repetitive cycles. It has to be constant reinforcement in order to do that. And sadly, not all of us have the patience or the time to do that. So it really needs to be a personal decision to do that. I want to come back to my mom, because that was another huge discovery that nobody told me about. I told you that I've experienced severe anxiety and stress up until almost the age of 30. And I couldn't understand, because I was meditating, I was doing a lot of things for personal self-improvement, and I still had that subtle feeling of anxiety until I stumbled on this research, and there's a book, It Didn't Start With You, that they had the mice or rats, I don't remember exactly, that were exposed to lilac smell. And every time when they were exposed to lilac smell, they were shocked. They were having like a little electrocution. And then they measured 3 generations of these mice. So these mice gave litter, and then they measured 3 generations forward. When they exposed those babies of their grandparents of mice to lilac smell, they had the same stress reaction, even though they were never shocked. And that opened up this whole idea of epigenetics that I wanted to point out for you. We don't have the time to go in depth in that. But if you have, and I think in our generation, most, at least grandparents, were in some kind of wars or Great Depressions or other things, that if you have any history like that, then it needs a little deeper work and deeper understanding. But just acknowledging it and in understanding that this is a possibility already brings a lot of sense of relief that I personally found, and I certainly always look into when I work with the clients here. So let's move into those tactics, huh? Let's do a little bit of our things. How are you doing, guys? I wanted to pause for a little bit. So far, so good. I see some of you, don't see many. I see you're multitasking, working, emails. Okay, wonderful. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you is the technique I feel versus I am. Whenever we are absorbed into the feeling, I say, I am stressed. I am angry. I ask you in the beginning, put one word, how are you right now? And generally we would say, if we would put a full sentence, we'll say, I am tired. I am worried. I am excited. That leaves very little room in the brain to create a space for something else. So instead, if you can replace, you can remember this trick to replace instead, I feel certain emotion, I feel sleepy, I feel tired, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel excited, then the neocortex has the room to choose other sensations as well. Do you feel the difference? I feel versus I am. That this whole encompassing thing of I am and there's nothing else to do, or versus I feel. Another one is, and these are all in the mindset category. Another one is replacing I have to I get to. Because a lot of times we say, I have to go to work because I have to pay my bills, because I have to take care of my children and my family. That is burden and the burden and the burden, and it feels like lack of personal freedom. If we replace to I get to, the underlying characteristics or emotion that we are looking for there is gratitude. I get to go to work because a lot of people are unemployed or unable to work for whatever reasons. I get to serve my family because I also receive love and contribution and connection from them. So what, if you can type in the chat, what are one of your I have to's that you're constantly like, oh, I have to get up or I have to go to meetings. Can you type that you are willing to replace, instead of I have to, get to I get to? I have to exercise. So it's going to be I get to exercise, make dinner, to pay my bills. I get to make dinner each night. Yes, because you have that opportunity to have fresh food. I get to wash dirty dinner dishes because probably you spent some time with somebody that you loved, or it was delicious. You were taking care of a staff. I get to drive my son to his friend's house. How does that feel to you guys? If you replace it to I get to, is there a little more freedom in there in the mental space? Are you feeling it? I get to clean up after my kiddo. Yes, every meal. Wonderful. So let's move into something that really works with, I can convince myself, I suppose. Yes, Lena, it's all in the practice, because you get to choose which emotion you want to experience. So if you start to look at things differently, you will start experience other emotions as well. Now I need to get my husband to say that. Wonderful. So now with emotions that are stickier, I figured out that mindset does not work most of the time. We need to work with chemistry. And the easiest and the fastest way to work with chemistry is through the breath. That's why today we started with a coffee replacement. Those of you that were late a little bit, I would highly encourage you to do that as an exercise. But whenever we are in the emotions that are less desired, we have to change the chemistry, and the breath is one of the agents that can do that for us. So let's practice one breathing technique that I wanted to leave you with. In addition to when under stress, I take 6 deep breaths. This is actually based on science by Japanese researchers. They figured that it takes at minimum 6 deep breaths from a person that is experiencing high aggravated emotion like anger, rage. Anything less than that was not moving the needle for them. So if you are feeling like you are losing it, then at minimum 60 breaths, maybe even more. But it's very hard to do when you're in that state. So something to consider. So the technique that I want you to try, let's experience that deep peace and silence. And I'm warning you, those of you that are liking the action, it might be a little bit unsettling. So stay with it. We'll only do it for 2 minutes. Again, the technique itself is you're breathing through the nose, inhaling on the count of 3, and I'll count for you. You'll hold your breath for the count of 9, and we'll exhale on the count of 6. You're only breathing through the nose. I invite you to either look away from your computers or close your eyes, or you can stay as you are. So let's begin by fully exhaling. And now begin inhale, 1, 2, 3. Hold your breath. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, nose, 1, 2, 3. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Exhale, nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale on your count of 3. Start counting within your head. Hold your breath on the count of 9. And whenever you're ready, you will exhale on your count of 6. Now, as we are working with this breath, allow yourself to fully relax. We're activating default mode network, which is the opposite of the stress response. The body is recharging. And even though it might feel slow and inactive, so keep on breathing. We have 45 more seconds to go. So even though it may feel like nothing is happening and it's a little bit boring, you are activating a lot of body responses, and it will give extra juices to your brain later. So inhale 3, hold your breath on 9, and exhale on 6. Whenever you are feeling really strong emotions, this is an amazing breath to start doing to get a fast switch on the chemical reaction within the body. You will feel different. Right now, it might not be as noticeable because we're in a calm state. But right now, notice if it elevates relaxation, calmness, peacefulness. The last round of breath. Finish this round. Inhale 3, holding 9, exhaling 6. And then allow, if you had your eyes open, closed, open them. Let yourself again reintroduce to the environment. If you feel a little sluggish, a little tired, shake off your shoulders, shake off your body, let yourself breathe. So how was it for you? Nice. Yeah, now I need a nap. Yes, if you are tired, sleep deprived, your body will immediately want to go there. But the good part is that when you are doing these exercises, then within 10, 20 minutes, you probably will need to walk around. You will feel the new wave of energy. Yes, seems long at first because we are so used to constantly doing things. And when we are doing a full stop like this breath, it does feel uncomfortable. I hope you guys will use it and enjoy it, or use your deep breathing. That's all you need to remember. So let's go into a little bit of the group coherence. Some of us do better and can do emotional regulations, but there are times when we actually cannot. Actually, before we go to group coherence, are there any questions, guys? Because we recognize that we want to address the questions. If you want to start typing them in, I will make sure that we address as they come in. So if there are any questions about anything that I said prior, or if you have another question, also feel free to write a question to me personally if you want to remain anonymous, and I will not announce the question. So until those questions coming in, I wanted to highlight that sometimes we cannot shift emotions on our own. And especially now when we're working more from home than ever before, it does impact our well-being. It does impact our productivity. And I'll explain how. Most of the time when we are in group settings, or a lot of times, we have this kind of picture. We are in our own worlds, we're disconnected. And depending on what other things this person is going through, we actually catching each other's vibes. So if assuming that everybody here has some kind of level of fear, worry, anxiety, we're all working on some kind of deadline, then the energy of the room will be very charged. And it will be very hard for you personally, even though you're doing the techniques, to stay on the calm, relaxed, collected, engaged zone. The reason why is because when they measured the heart rhythms of this incoherent emotions, our heart waves goes all over the place. When we experience positive emotions, our heart rate is very coherent. Why are we talking about the heart and not the brain? Is because the heart is the strongest organ that produces electromagnetic waves, 4 times stronger than the brain. The heart is the first organ that develops. It's not the brain. And we actually carry about 3 times more information through our heart than through our brains. That became obvious when they started to do heart transplants. And they started to see that the people who got the heart of the previous person were getting all these new habits and new beliefs and new behaviors that they could not explain other than getting that new heart from the person. So our organ here, whenever we are experiencing the emotion, when we feel it in our heart, is able to alter the brain waves, not only for ourselves, but for everyone around us. So remember that image of choosing Eeyore or tigers. So let yourself also select the people that you're hanging out with. Whenever you are feeling unsettled, call or interact or go to the person that you know will create more coherence into your life. And what we want to look more is using those coffee rooms, having the meetings in person, having the offsites, or as I said, if it's not work related, or if you want just to regulate yourself for work, you can go to a person that is not work related to do that. Because as human species, we are wired to co-regulate and mirror each other through this invisible heart and brain waves that we constantly emit into the world. And this is science. This is not being woohoo in there. So what about Zoom, right? Right now we're on Zoom and we have the videos. Yes, it is better than having cameras off. However, it is incomplete information for the brain. And therefore, it is recommended that you're not relying only on Zoom meetings in order to co-regulate yourself and your states. And you actually intentionally, I'm sure you're doing it with your family and friends, but intentionally see if there is an opportunity for you to go and have either business or clients meetings or team meetings together sometimes in whatever way it is. So I'm going to pause in just a second about recap. So I have a question here. Does stress have a valid place in our lives? For example, when we're in the paradox of mediocrity, where we become complacent and worse than being in a stressful situation that would be catalyst for change. Yes, absolutely. That's why I started actually to say that negative emotions or stress, let's put it this way, short-term stress is the element for growth. It creates our drive and desire to improve, to create, it's innovation. The problem is when the stress is prolonged and constant. That's where it depletes our brains. It's actually damaging for the brain cells. It's damaging for our nervous system. So if we are in constant stress and it doesn't change, that is not a good scenario. But stress in itself is not a problem. That's why when I talk even about emotions like fear, worry, and anxiety, I don't really like to call them negative. We're calling them right now undesired, but a lot of times they actually serve us in many ways for our survival, protection, creating boundaries, bettering ourselves, self-development. So yes, thank you for this question. And I'm glad that we made that clear. So we are almost done here. So if there are any questions, I wanted to recap of what we guys talked about today. And if there are any more questions or things that you would like to add, please put them in the chat. So we talked about some neuroscience of fear. I wanted you to understand intellectually what is happening, and that when you are in the emotions, that you're actually not really human, you're operating on instinct, just like any other animal, any other mammal on Earth, operating on an instinct. So in order for you to turn on your humanity, we need to work with this emotional regulation. We talked about the technique, I feel versus I am, using more I feel. Another one is I get to versus I have to, that underlying sense of gratitude and freedom that you actually choose to do certain things. Epigenetics and family history, I wanted to bring that into picture for those of you that might have some of the difficulty with overcoming emotions no matter what you do, like I once did. We talked about the importance of breaks to self-regulate. If you do not break, if you do not have white space in your calendar to cognize and process the things that are happening in your day, chances are you're going off the rails by the night and your nervous system is way too wired. So see if you can change that. We just talked about the group co-regulation mirroring, surrounding yourself with people that are carrying the feelings that you want to embrace versus people that triggering you and triggering your emotion. And we've done some of the things on breath management. So we've covered 2 techniques. Actually, this technique that we've done in the beginning, this is inducing stress. And therefore, it helps you to prepare and elevate your system. This is good breath. Whenever you want to induce stress with your breathing is when you have lethargy, when you want some energy, when you want some movement. The one with 396 that we just did, if when you want to downregulate your nervous system. So I wanted you to see the difference of you exciting yourself and you downregulating yourself, so you can use them as tools as applicable. And then gratitude and journaling. These are some of the reflection tools that are very well known, they're widely studied, and they definitely help to reduce anxiety and fear. I wanted to leave you with this before I look into chat again to see what we have there. Whoever travels without the guide needs to 200 years for a 2-day journey. And this is to say that you're not there to go through all those feelings by yourself. If you need help, will be opening my contact for you to definitely reach out, but rely on other human beings. I did not arrive to the journey of self-regulation. I had many teachers, starting with my mother, but I had many teachers and tons of courses and tons of trainings in order to be able to be on better stand with self-mastery. There's still ways to go, but self-regulation, emotional regulation, self-mastery, reducing these emotions that you don't want to, it's really a journey that takes other people to help you. So with that being said, here's my contact. Let's connect. I'm on all social media. This is the phone and the email. I also have the book that right now is available on Audible. I would love to offer to this group, if you want a free code for US and Canada, for US and UK only, not Canada. So if you are in Canada, unfortunately, Audible did not provide those codes. If you want a free version of audiobooks, just send me an email saying book and I will email the code to you. They're unique to each individual, so I'll be happy to share that. So I would love to go ahead and see what were the biggest takeaways for you. I see here a question, the breathing exercise, how long do you recommend to do it for if you need stress to focus? The minimum I would say is 2-3 minutes. You will not see the impact shorter than that. So if you're really stressed, at least put the timer for 3 minutes, because it will seem like forever because you're going to be agitated. 3 minutes at minimum. You can do it for 5-6 minutes if you have the time. You will feel more calm for more prolonged time. A minimum 6 breaths. You will see, John, if you have 6 breaths, if you really do it slow and deep like you're supposed to, not just right, it will take you at least 2 minutes to do that. So what are your takeaways? I would love to go through that before. I love that I get to what Maria said. So any other things that you guys will be implementing? Let me go back to this slide, I guess, so you can get a little bit. I would like you to take one point out of the whole presentation and work on that for the next couple of weeks. Just one. Because our habits are so sticky, our minds are so tricky that if you just go off from this webinar and don't get one takeaway, so if you choose one exercise, I feel I get to write a sticky note for you right now and put it where you can see it, by your computer, by your wall, on your phone. If you want to do breathing exercises, I highly recommend you scheduling them on your calendar, because otherwise you're not going to get to them. So is there anything else that I can answer for you guys? All right.
All right. What a wonderful session, Oksana. Thank you so much for sharing your tricks with us and some of our TTA talent who was able to join as well. Thank you all for coming. We hope you enjoyed this session and getting to know Oksana and her techniques a little bit better. We're very grateful for that. We did drop the survey link in the chat one more time for you all to respond to. Again, we would really appreciate your time in responding to that. Also, don't forget to update your TTA talent profile on ttaconnect.com so that we can match you to the right opportunities. Hopefully you found these techniques helpful long-term, as well as the ability to put them into your own practices and training in your everyday lives. So for future opportunities, visit us at thetrainingassociates.com/talent workshops. We should have some more coming up. And if you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We thank you all, and we hope you have an absolutely amazing rest of your day and a worry-free and stress-free weekend.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure and a joy.